Over and out, ladies and gentlemen. It is 8 o'clock on Thursday, February... What February is it? 8th. It is February 8th, 2018, 8 p.m. Bangkok time. Biggity Bangkok, the lovely city of angels, the Venice of the East. Welcome and thank you so much for tuning in to the Surrounded by Details podcast. My name is Steve-O. I am your host and your photographer in need, and I'm just getting settled down because I put on a jacket. As always, I made the mistake to put the aircon on Antarctica mode, and here I am freezing my balls off while podcasting. So, with that important information being said, let's dive straight into it. To today's episode, we are going to talk to Eric Uresk, the MMA head coach of Phuket Top Team and a Alliance MMA coach, if I'm not mistaken. And I got to know Eric a while back. He is very active, obviously, in the MMA scene here in Southeast Asia. Recently won a world title belt with his fighter Jingnang Xiong, the one championship women's strawweight title, and the last time I spoke to Eric was a little bit less than a year ago, I think, when we went down to Phuket to shoot the Primal FC event. So that was an adventure, and we were actually recording from a yoga studio, and we didn't do it live back then because I had the video then, and had to cut everything together. Today it's gonna get a little bit different. We're gonna record audio, we're gonna have a chat, we're gonna catch up, because I've been seeing Eric a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, but either he was busy training people at Phuket Top Team, or he was on his scooter, and I was just in Phuket for a couple of days to shoot a couple of athletes. I've been mentioning that a million times, so you probably know that by now. But before we do so, as always, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsor and our main supporter, of course, the Dreamcatcher Hostel Bar and Cafe here in Bangkok, Sathorn. If you are having plans to visit the lovely City of Angels, then do yourself a favor and check in with the Dreamcatcher Hostel Bar and Cafe, because it's a great place. They have great people, they have lovely food, they have delicious craft beer. I actually paid them a visit yesterday. And now they also have this little awesome bench in front of their place where you can just sit outside and enjoy the very local neighborhood. The tourist area is not too far from there actually, but it's in a back road in a very small soi or yak, as you say in Thailand. So once you actually find the hostel, it's very local, and the rooftop is definitely worth checking out. So you see, even if you already have a place in Bangkok, or if you're living in Bangkok, or whatever your reasons are not to stay at the Dreamcatcher Hostel Bar and Cafe, which is just foolish, but I guess you have your reasons. However, pay them a visit anyway, because it's a great place to be. And second out, since 2018, we also have our co-sponsor, the Indigo Float Center in Phuket, and I believe Eric actually went there a couple of times over the last few weeks and is holding a little social media diary. I've been seeing him posting about all that on Facebook, so we're gonna bring that up and see what his mission is regarding floating. Indigo Float Center is directly located on the road where you have all the gyms in the Chalong area in Phuket, so it's very hard to miss. It's a blue building. It looks very water and ocean, so yeah, if you miss that place, you are literally blind. And maybe today is a very good opportunity to finally give out some of those floats that I've been mentioning on the previous episodes, because now we have Phuket Top Team, which is right next door basically to Indigo Float Center. We're gonna talk float with Eric, so what better time is there to give out a float? And how you can win that float, I will tell you in a second during the episode, so just stay tuned and get to know all the information how to win that precious little free float. And if you haven't tried floating, highly recommend it. But before I dive more into my float addiction, I just call up Eric and talk about floating with him, what he sees are the benefits, and how his experience have been, because it's way easier to do a podcast when you have another person instead of just talking yourself. It's not exactly that I like to hear my talk, that I like to hear me talking every time, but sometimes you gotta do shit that you got to do, which is podcasting on your own. But not today. Eric Uresk, where is he? We have Skype here. Today is via Skype. Our last episode with Tommy Hayden was over WhatsApp. It's always amazing me the different platforms that you can use in order to get in touch with people. So turn down the music, turn up the microphone on this one, and there we go. It's connecting and calling. Yo, Eric, what's up?
What's happening?
Not much. I was just doing a short intro here before calling you up, and I came to talk about floating. And I've been seeing on your social media that you have been deep shit into floating lately. So I thought I'd call you up first before going any further into the subject. But first and foremost, how are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, you at home? You finished training for today?
I just finished at 7:30. Booked home, dropped my girlfriend off to get a massage, and took a shower quick and hopped on with you.
Boom! That sounds like a busy schedule. Do you have a schedule like this every day, or do you have days off where you can just chill and do nothing on a beautiful island like Phuket?
Sunday, I don't do anything gym related. That's the only day. Saturday, I usually finish by noon. But other than that, I'm usually at Top Team about 6 hours a day.
Oh, damn. That's a long time in the gym. Don't you get ever tired of that?
Every day, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot of people, obviously, that come training, and it seems to me, I always not hate it, but I always was scared of it to get a job that never ends, where you have to do stuff that never takes an end. It's the same thing over and over again. And obviously, you have different fighters, but I can imagine it's a little bit different because each fighter is a different individual. So it's not like, packaging pizza. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Martial arts never ends, but that's kind of like what I like about it. Is just like, it sounds kind of corny, but it's like the search for perfection. Like I'll never get there, but every day that's the goal.
Yeah, it's nobody is perfect, but you can always die trying. What makes a complete MMA fighter, a perfect MMA fighter, in your opinion?
The closest thing that we'll ever see to a perfect MMA fighter is George St. Pierre. As far as like being strong in every aspect of the game, I don't know that at least for a while we're going to see somebody who was so dominant in every aspect of the game. He could do it all. So it's to me, that's just my opinion. He caught flack for lack of finishes towards the end of his career, but his performances throughout his career, the Condit and the Hendricks fight, where I think he wasn't fully in it, but prior to that, I think he was just completely dominant and in every aspect of the game.
So, what is your opinion about his one fight comeback that he had against Bisping at the end towards last year?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was, I think if you listen to John Donahue's interview on Rogan, he put it perfectly. He answered all the questions. Moved up in weight. Perhaps Bisping's not the most dominant champion at 185, but nonetheless the champion, and finished him, and looked great doing it. Moved up in weight to challenge the champion and finished him and did it pretty impressively. So I thought it was amazing. I'm a huge GSP fan.
So you wouldn't mind to see him back one more time?
One more time. I think he can beat Woodley. I think he's amazing.
I would love somebody to beat Woodley. I'm not a big Woodley fan, but there's just something around this guy that he's always crying. He's always complaining. I can't get warm with this guy. I don't know what it is. I just don't like Woodley. So I don't mind if there's anybody. If it's Nate Diaz, if it's Eddie Alvarez or whoever it is, just take Woodley, take the belt from him, because he's very annoying. He's good as an analyst, but as a fighter, he's just annoying the shit out of me.
Yeah, he catches a lot of flack, and I understand why, and I also see his position. I see it from all angles. Look, it's very few people get to the top of the sport. Even fewer people are able to stay there. So he's been able to do that so far. And has it been the most fun stuff to watch the last couple fights? Not really, but man, it's like Wonder Boy's a nightmare matchup for anybody, and you have to fight him smart. And we can say what we want, but at any time in the fight there was damage done, it was Woodley doing the damage.
Yeah.
So Wonder Boy to beat him, it's a difficult fight, and it's not the most. Woodley didn't have the most entertaining game plan, but it was enough to win. So.
But that's what a lot of people don't understand, because a lot of people say, yeah, his fights are boring. That I don't even mind, because there will always be fights that are not entertaining for the audience, that are just real wars, and it's normal that you have these fights, but it's just his behavior, his kind of role that he's trying to play, always complaining and saying getting an operation, and then he calls out this guy but he won't fight this guy. He just makes things too complicated. Somebody I like compared to Woodley, and they actually work together sometimes, and you trained him recently, Dominic Cruz. He's straightforward and he doesn't complain too much and just goes for it. That is how you should behave as a fighter, especially if you're on the top, and complain less and fight more. That would be my suggestion. But it's easier said for me because I'm a photographer. I can talk all day long.
It's easy. And Dom has one of the strongest mindsets in the game, I think, and it's, to his benefit and to his credit. I don't know. He refuses to give himself excuses, and and he's very disciplined about it.
Yeah.
As far as his career is concerned, he does not give himself any excuses. So I think there's a lesson for all of us to be learned as far as that's concerned.
And let's dive a little bit more into that topic, Dominic Cruz, here, because he trains at Alliance MMA, and I said in my introduction that you are a former coach for Alliance MMA. And is that how you ended up at Phuket Top Team, or what's the story? How did you end up in Thailand?
I was a fighter and a coach at Phuket Top Team. I mean, at Alliance.
Uh-huh.
So I wasn't like full-time coaching there. I was mostly fighting, and then I would run some of the wrestling and grappling workouts there.
Okay.
And then corner a lot of the guys. But yeah, I had some coaching duties, and so like it was a big part of like a lot of Dom's camps. Before his injuries kicked in, and then I made it out to Phuket Top Team just because I was having a hard time getting fights in Southern California. So I figured I needed a change. I wanted to give Asia a try. Just for whatever reason, the idea sort of came into my consciousness, and I just went with it. It's just like anytime I've made a big move, it just happens suddenly, and I just go.
So you're a very impulsive person.
Impulsive when I get a strong feeling. I'm not doing impulsive things all the time, but if I have a strong intuition about something, I'll go with it, even if it doesn't make sense to maybe the people around me. I'll be like, "You sure about that?" And I'll be sure.
I think sometimes you need to go with your gut feeling. Don't do that all the time, because obviously it doesn't work 100 times out of 100 times. But it's just something, if there's something, and it's hard to describe what that feeling is exactly, but if there's something that tells you just do it, then you should do it as quickly as possible and don't overthink things. It's the same thing with the 5-second rule in the morning to wake up. If you wait too long for certain things, you won't do them. And sometimes intuition and being impulsive can actually have great benefits in order to improve your life.
Yeah, I don't even look at that as being impulsive. I just look at it as following my intuition. Impulsive would be more like, buying something I don't need. I saw it as I'm leaving the store. Oh, those are, a cool pair of sneakers or whatever. I'm not so impulsive like that. When I get a strong feeling in my gut that I want to do something, or I'm being sort of directed to do something, then I go with it, no questions asked usually.
So what did you envisioning when Phuket came up and when you made the move to Phuket? How did you see your future? Or did you just see the next week training on the island, great gym, having the beach, or were you actually making bigger plans?
I actually coached the Leones in like youth wrestling when they were kids. So I knew they were out here, and I just hit them up. Hey, what's the training like out there? I figured I'd just come out here and see what's up. And then in talking to them, a coaching job lined up for like the fitness class at Phuket Top Team, not even the wrestling class right away. And I was, I was doing personal training at the time. I was like, oh fuck, I can do that. And so that's really what they were going to bring me out for. And then the wrestling job opened up like within like a week or so. and Boyd and I were talking, and he was a little iffy. He had some other candidates in line, and for whatever reason, it worked out. They were like, "All right, come out. We'll see if it's a fit." And yeah, it was a fit. And I was here for a year, and I actually went home after the first year. And I wasn't really doing well in my personal life. Was a bit of a mess at the time, and I just wasn't happy at all. So I kind of thought I wasn't happy in Phuket.
I see.
And yeah, so and that happens to a lot. I see this happen a lot. People come to Phuket, and there's so much free time here for the majority of the people that come here that they don't get sick of Phuket. They get sick of themselves, because like normally when you're in a grind, right, wherever you're from, work, city life, whatever, sometimes you don't have time to sit with yourself. And in Phuket, you have a ton of time to sit with yourself. And so oftentimes when people tell me that they're sick of Phuket, I often suspect they're sick of the time that they have to spend with themselves, and they need to go back to their life distractions, whatever that is. Because usually when people leave here, after 2 weeks, they wish they were back. They miss the freedom. They wish they were on a motorbike. They wish they were back. But 2 weeks ago, you hated it here, and it was the source of your problem. So that's kind of like what I had going on. And then I had, I went home for a little bit, and things just weren't working out there. When I went back to New York, and I thought about going back to San Diego and getting back with Alliance, and just nothing was falling into place. So I got asked to go out to England and train out there. It was north of Manchester, so to be fair, it wasn't the best part of England, but it's still to this day, other than Jakarta, it's the worst place I've ever been.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because it's actually on my notes here to ask you about what you meant by that social media post. Jakarta is worse than England. Can you explain yourself?
Jakarta was rough, man.
It's a tough city, man.
Yeah, there was just nothing to do. It was just like the hotel location was pretty terrible, to be fair. But there was just it felt like there was no culture to the city. It was just a lot of people.
And a lot of cars. A lot of
cars. Just like crazy traffic. The worst driving I've ever seen in my life. Like Phuket's pretty bad. I think it might be the most dangerous place to drive in the world is Phuket. But Jakarta was just, it was so much traffic. There was just nothing. It was, the local cuisine I wasn't a fan of. I love Bali. I love Bali, but yeah, Jakarta just wasn't for me. There was no like feel to the city, just a lot of people, a lot of traffic.
I completely hear you on that one. I totally agree. And if I'm not mistaken, you stayed in the same hotel because you were there for one championship. You had one of your athletes, and we're getting to that later, fighting for the world champion belt successfully, as it turns out. But the hotel that you were staying in, I can't remember the name. And one of the weirdest scenarios, if you talk about the same hotel as I'm about to talk about, it's the same hotel where you have the gym at the bottom, right?
Yes.
Awful breakfast and all this kind of
Yeah, it was horrible.
Hotel disasters all come together at this place. And it's really weird. When I was there for the first time, I was about to get to my room, and I was trying to opening my room. And those small chains that you have on the inside of the room, which you put on the door and it locks. You can only open the door a little bit.
Sure.
It was closed from the inside, but there was nobody in the room. That's the weirdest thing that ever happened to me, and until this day, this hotel is on my worst top 10 list.
Yeah, that's about the worst hotel I've ever. Actually, it's so weird because the fight gym was the saving grace. Like, I had one of my assistant coaches with me, so we could sneak in a few like grappling sessions. Like that kept me sane. So otherwise, I would have been a disaster. Like I get really hyperactive and don't know what to do with myself when I don't train, especially in a place like that where there's nothing to do. I would have been a mess mentally. So being able to train was quite helpful. But yeah, there was literally nothing else to speak of there. So
yeah, well, the black pepper beef is the only thing that we could mention because that is quite delicious in that place. But otherwise, there's nothing. But I'm wondering because I had the discussion with Tommy Hayden in our previous podcast episode, and there was some gym switching going on here in Bangkok, and he explained to me it's very difficult to train and to get the motivation if you train at a place that you don't feel comfortable with. So how much motivation did you actually need in Jakarta to get some workouts in, to get some training in, or was it a gym you enjoyed?
Oh, I mean, I'll train anywhere.
Okay, that's pretty
easy.
For
me, I'm pretty self-motivated. So, like, for me, if there's a place to train, like, even if there's not mats, like, I'll train, you know. I have to train for my sanity and so that I'm not a fucking monster to everybody around me.
You seem, every time I see you, man, you seem like such a calm guy. I might have missed a different side of you until now.
You know what it is? I'm always, that's because I train till I'm exhausted. And it's like, it sounds so crazy, but it like almost sedates me a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm pretty calm and laid back, but, and I have to do a lot of work to be like that. My normal state is, you know, my go-tos, if you could see what was going on in my head half the time and the conversations I have to have with myself to like act like a normal human being. Like, yeah.
So you do talk to yourself. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I more than I care to admit. Yeah, it's I know. Thing is, I know my thoughts are fucked up and crazy, you know.
But don't you think that's always the issue? Because that is something that I recently learned with the podcast. There's something that happened in my head because always when I did the podcast, and you are episode 157 on your second appearance today, and that means I've been doing a bunch of episodes. But it still felt like you have to put on a show for every time you go live. But in the last couple of weeks, I was like, you know what? Just consider your thoughts, your person as normal, and then ever since I just talk way easier because I think a lot of people think that what's going on in their head is crazy and so different from everybody else. Well, but I think a lot of people think the same shit. So what I'm trying to say, there's way more crazy people out there.
I think you're right about that. I think for me, it's like still. So as a kid, I was like a street guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Up until my early 20s. Yep. So a lot of times, even to this day, like my first, especially with like, you know, if I have difficulties communicating with another man, my first instinct, you know, is to slap him. Right? But you can't do that, right? That's not acceptable. Yeah. You can't behave like that. So, so I have to have like internal talks with it's not all the time that I'm like that, but that's the worst version of myself, right? The best version of myself, just water rolls off my back and whatever, you know. But if I'm not having a great day that day, or I'm just off the beam for whatever reason, that's my first instinct, and that's not a good thing. That's not anything to be proud of, you know. But it is my first instinct sometimes, and I like, you know, and you can't do business like that. Like I'm you know, heading up a successful fight team. Things are going really, really well. Like I can't behave like that, even though
you have to be a role model.
Yeah, even though sometimes that's the first thing I want to do when I have a disagreement with somebody. But it's like, you know, I'm gonna be 37 tomorrow. Like you can't fucking behave. Yeah, you can't behave like that. You know. You know, so I have a lot of those talks with myself.
Yeah, I do that a lot when I talk to, when I meet new people. I start talking, and then I have this weird habit that I talk very quiet, but it's going out loud. So I'm not talking into my head. And sometimes the person catches up, and then I have something to talk about. But sometimes I just stand there and keep talking for myself, and it's weird, man. But yeah, communicating is such a difficult thing once you really get into it. Like to have a proper conversation and to look properly. Like I mean, actually paying attention to the person. I have another bad habit as a photographer. I always look around. I never look the person in the eye because I'm always observing what's going on. There might be a photo coming up, or there might be a great shot there. So it's very difficult. And communicating with other people, hey, praise the podcast. I don't need to see your face. I can just talk to you. It's awesome.
yeah, for sure.
So birthday tomorrow. Any special plans how to celebrate, or a usual day in the gym?
Might just stop out with some of the people from the gym and some friends for a little bit. I'm not too big into, you know, getting crazy, and then I'll spend the weekend, you know, going to the islands with my girl.
Nice.
That's about it. Nothing too crazy. And
No
just
cakes,
relax a
no
little bit.
donuts, no nothing.
No, just get away from maybe, Saturday night we'll probably, splurge a little bit, but
Mm.
I'm gonna train all day tomorrow and do what I normally do, and that I'll train no matter what. So that's what I enjoy doing. Sometimes it's between the
Mm.
coaching and the private lessons and stuff like that. That's the stuff that tires me out. It's the teaching, not coaching, but teaching and private lessons. That's the stuff that sort of wears me out because it's the costs of mental energy that you have to give away to do stuff like that. It's I put a lot of mental energy in, so I often find myself a bit depleted after that. I can work with professionals all day long. That really that excites me and sort of gives me energy.
But
I
I can also imagine, sorry to interrupt, but I can also imagine when you work at the gym where you have people from all over the world. I mean, last time I was at Phuket Top Team, there were people from China, Japan, America, Russia, Thailand. I mean, literally from everywhere. And I think the most exhausted part is actually communicating with them because it's so many different languages. Not everybody speaks English. And I'm not saying that people should learn better English. I mean, they should because it's the language of the world. But to actually try to talk with hands and feet and you try to explain a move, that can be more exhausting than the workout itself, I can imagine.
It's tough. I'm usually fortunate enough that I'll have somebody around that can translate for me.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my assistant coaches is Russian, so he handles that part. Generally, when I have a large group of athletes from China, they come with a translator for themselves.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, so for the pros, more or less. So yeah, there's usually some way to get, Chinese, Russian are the big languages. Most Europeans speak English, so it's usually that's usually not an issue.
Except for the French. The French don't like to speak English.
No, the French, generally don't bother. But and whatever. I can only speak one language, so I can't really.
Yeah, it's man. I keep on saying that it's a benefit to not grow up in an English-speaking country because you have to learn English and. I mean, but did you never take French or Spanish in school? I mean, don't you have that in the US?
So I took French for maybe half a semester of high school. I took it for maybe 1 year in junior high, I think, because the teacher was hot. And then, I didn't really go to class too much in high school. I wasn't a very good kid. So I didn't last too long in the foreign language. I barely remember how to say my name is in French.
But you can say your name with a French dialect and it sounds super French. Eric.
I guess.
You just need to swallow the air there in between. And I mean, it's always difficult when you don't speak the language. It's so tough to learn. But I want to go back because learning reminds me that you were talking about that a lot of people get tired of Phuket, but they actually have so much free time that they get tired of themselves, not spending time with themselves. And then shortly after that, you told me that your birthday is tomorrow and you turned 37. And then I see on social media you're floating. So there's a lot of self-consciousness and self-awareness going on in Eric's life. So who do you think Eric is with 37? Because to shortly slide into that topic, I think there is too many people out there that are not aware of who they are and cannot spend time with themselves. That's why everybody hangs in front of social media or has to do stuff. I think too many people are actually afraid of spending time with themselves. So tell me about Eric at 37.
Well, that's a subject. So for me, I spend pretty much, if I'm not doing something concerned with training or martial arts or the gym, the other bulk of my time is spent researching consciousness and studying my own thoughts and belief patterns, studying the thoughts and belief patterns of other people to better understand myself. I spend a lot of time in self-analysis. Sometimes it gets a little bit exhausting.
So would you call yourself spiritual or more studying self-awareness?
Would I call myself what?
Spiritual.
Yes, definitely. But both,
Okay.
both. I mean, for me, it's a real spiritual thing. Happiness doesn't come easy to me. Like I had mentioned before, the first time I was in Phuket, I just wasn't in a great place mentally. And at a certain point, you got to stop blaming your surroundings. At least I did. I felt like I had to stop blaming my surroundings and just realize, like, I'm not a happy person because I'm not happy. And it has nothing to do. Like, if somebody else had my life, they might be stoked about it, and some people have way less and they're stoked about their life. So, it wasn't circumstantial. And I think that, as long as I think that my happiness or the peace that I have in my life is circumstantial, I'm probably not going to find any peace or happiness. And so it's got to come intrinsically, and it doesn't, and it's work. It doesn't come for free, like there's work that's got to be done. So I spend a lot of time working on that stuff. And for me, it's not like, there's no standing still. So I can't just coast, I'm either moving forward or I'm backsliding.
You see.
Yeah, it doesn't, for me, there's no standing still. Very, very short periods of time. I'm talking like a day of standing still before I'm backsliding.
Yeah, so you see, for me, sorry to interrupt, but for me that used to be the case, but now I kind of find a level where I can actually just remain on a certain level for a day, maybe two, but then I need to start to do stuff again. But this level of remainance for a day or two is, I enjoy that a lot, I have to say. You didn't used to be like that.
I'm jealous. It's not that I feel like I have to be doing physical things. You know what I mean? It's just more for me, it's like the spiritual and mental work.
Yeah, I mean, listening to podcasts, reading, educating yourself, stay curious, all this kind of stuff. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, if I don't meditate first thing in the day, my day is going to be a wreck.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just be ornery. I'm just going to feel disconnected, and probably be a little bit short with people, not enjoy my day. I'm going to be going to work to punch a clock rather than do what it is I enjoy to do. Right? So, I'm real fortunate. Like, I play sports for a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And teach people to play sports for a living. So, it's play, right? And I can still get tired of that. And again, like, then I'm not tired of that. I'm just tired of myself. Usually is the case. Sometimes I'm just overworked. Sometimes I'm a workaholic. So, like, I do run myself into the ground at times. But often it's the case that I'm just off the beam, with my mental game. So
how long do you meditate in the morning? How long is a meditating session for you?
I have to do at least 10 minutes, and that's cutting it short. If I do 20 minutes, I feel pretty good. If I do a half hour, I feel bulletproof.
Bulletproof. That's nicely put. So how did you manage to float? I mean, because I always think this is a very interesting topic to see the differences between floating and meditating, because basically it's the same, but it's just such a different way to get into that certain state that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, it's so floating. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about floating and the practice of it, and I was like, man, I really want to take my meditation work to a deeper level. I need to give floating a fair chance. I did it twice, with quite a bit of time in between.
Sorry, somebody's trying to call me. I keep on rejecting here. Just keep going.
So I was like, maybe I need to give this thing more of a chance and really get in there and do it consistently. So I approached the guys and I told them, hey, listen, at Float Indigo, I would like to do a month, 3 times a week. And so I'm just wrapping up the second week and of 3 floats a week, and even this week was so much stronger than the last week, and I was able to get in, slip in, and I'm still not getting as quite as deep as I want, but I'm in a super relaxed state almost instantly.
So wait a second. So how long is your float session? Do you float 60 minutes or do you float 90 minutes longer or shorter?
60 right now. 60.
Okay, and why did you decide for 60?
Just because, I don't know, it just seemed like if I'm gonna do it that often, it just seemed like to be a little bit more manageable. But I do want to start doing longer floats, so I think I'm gonna do at least one of the floats a week. I'm gonna try to push it at least like maybe 90 minutes because a lot of times at the end of my session is when I just start to slip sort of out of my body.
Yeah.
And then it's time to get out.
Yeah,
the hour. goes by really fast now. So like the hour is done. The first couple times, kind of fighting it the last 20 minutes, like getting a little anxious and just like over it,
Mm.
But now the 20, I don't even, by the time the hour's up, I'm surprised that the hour's up. So it's going much faster now.
Yeah, I normally do 90-minute floats, and the last 5 to 10 minutes is when I start to slip out, and then I get a little bit impatient. I kind of, okay, now it's over, because it's very hard to go back into that state once you reached it,
Yeah.
and you get out from it. So the last 5 to 10 minutes I usually just use as stretching and try to enjoy the wake up process. Wake up is the wrong word, because you don't really fall to sleep, but you are somewhere
Sure.
else. So
Yeah.
I prefer 90 minutes. It's the perfect level for me, and I can also imagine it's different from tank to tank, because here in Bangkok you have the Dream Pods. They're a little bit smaller, and down in Phuket at the Indigo Float Center you have a self-built tank that is just massive, and I can stretch in there and I don't even reach the wall. So it's different from tank to tank. So how long did it take you to actually get properly into floating? And to shortly explain for the people who don't know what we're actually talking about, we're talking about sensory deprivation tanks. If you don't know what that is, please Google that, and then come back to the podcast, because I'm too lazy to explain, because we talked about it so many times on this podcast already. But a lot of people struggle with actually going floating and then getting the experience the first time, because so many people tell them about floating, so you have all these expectations. So the first float is always a throwaway. How long did it take you until you really started to taking away layers for layers for layers?
Honestly, the first time I floated this time, I was able to get pretty deep after like 20 minutes.
Mm.
This time around. Then the second and third time were much deeper, much faster. I don't smoke weed, but I do use CBD oil, which relaxes my body. So I don't get high off of it, but it does help my body relax from the anti-inflammatory properties. So I find that with the body being so relaxed, I find it a little bit easier to get in there.
Okay, interesting.
And plus, I'm dead tired. By the time I get in there, I've just finished a crazy day. I might have just finished training, so pretty exhausted. And I find the more exhausted I am, the easier it is to just kind of get in there and just kind of turn off.
Yeah, but I would be afraid to go in there after an exhausted day. When I float, I try to float in the mornings as early as possible, and then I normally try to get it away at the beginning of my day, because it calms me for the rest of the day. If I would do it at the end, I would be afraid that I fall to sleep and then I throw away a session of floating.
Yeah, I don't fall asleep. I've tried. One time I did try doing it during the day. I found I couldn't relax, because I just probably was thinking about all the things I had to do the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's difficult. So how do you start a normal float? How do you disconnect? I always have to start thinking of certain happenings in the past, and then I really start to get into details, like what was I wearing, how was the weather, and then from there it kind of slowly disappears. What is your journey into the right state?
I usually just hop in and start paying attention to my breath.
Okay. A lot of people do that. I always get scared when I listen to my breath.
Yeah, I just listen to my breath, and I try to focus on the gaps in between the breath. Like sometimes with the breath, there's thoughts, and then there's gaps in between, breath. And so usually on my exhale, I get a nice moment of stillness, and I just try to be aware about that moment for as long as I can. And as I go through that process, they start to get longer and longer.
So what do you prefer at the end of the day, meditating or floating?
I think floating has probably strengthened my meditation, and I think I prefer meditating, if I'm honest, as far as...
How come?
Because I can do it anywhere, and it's a tool I can use all the time. I can go into a public bathroom and meditate if I need to. You
see, that is fucking crazy, because that is something that I envy. I wish I could do that. So for me, floating is just, it's a cheap way out, because I already disconnect. I get the disconnection from the sound and from the visuals for free. I don't need to use my brain power to do that. I could never meditate at in a pool somewhere or at Ali's barbecue.
Yeah, I think I'll continue. Even once my month is up, I'll still probably try to continue to float at least once a week.
And you have float number 5 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Just finished float number 5. Yeah.
Just finished float number 5, and yeah, would you ever consider to get a float tank for yourself?
If I have money provided, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Floating is highly recommended. As I said, we have been talking about this on the podcast so many times. I think last time we spoke shortly about that when we had our podcast almost a year back. But now you are a little bit deeper into it, and I'm looking forward. And I really enjoy that you actually always post a little bit. Can you post a little bit more? I'm interested to see like the life that you live. I always talk to fighters and other adventurers, but I like to see how somebody who coaches, who trains, who floats, how that affects your life.
Hopefully I'm going to be starting a podcast soon. Really, I just need to pull the trigger. I have a sound guy. I have everything in place to start the podcast. It's just about pulling the trigger. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Do it. I remember you started something not long ago. But...
Yeah, well, I had some videos, some video, vlogs that I was doing for a little bit, and sort of lost traction with that. Sometimes my head's so full of stuff. Like it's hard for me to focus.
Tell me about
one thing at a time.
It's already hard for me to get all the content created, and I'm a person who works with media all day. So I can imagine when you don't work with media, you have other shit to do. Then you have to do videos, and you have to cut and all this. I totally understand, man. But I really enjoyed your first videos that you put out on your YouTube channel, I believe it was. And more of that, please. For people who are not training as much as you do, or the people that you have around me, basically I'm talking about myself. It is very inspiring to see the mental and the mind behind how to train, and different techniques and advice in your average day life, how they can affect your training, and so on and so on. But talking about floating and meditating, something that I wanted to dive in a little bit earlier there before, but we kind of lost track. Many different people at the Phuket Top Team from all over the world. As I said, Dominic Cruz recently was there, and Jingyang Xiong from China, who won the One Championship women's strawweight title in Eric Uresk' favorite city, Jakarta. How was it to train with Xiong? How do you say her name? I always butcher her name.
Xiao Jingnan.
How was it to train with her? Was it her first time at Phuket Top Team, or have you met before?
No, she did her first camp for One Championship rather now, at Phuket Top Team, and then it was a quick turnaround between that, and then they offered her the fight with Tio, and we jumped on that fight right away. We knew it was a good matchup, and that was it. We did the camp. It was a tough camp, good camp for her, and I was really confident going into that fight. She actually underperformed, and was still pretty dominant. So it speaks volumes about her potential.
And she's how old is she? She's not that old, huh?
She's somewhere
beginning of 20s,
around 27 to 30, something like that.
Oh, okay. I always thought she was younger. That's crazy. But yeah, when I was shooting with her, I have to say very professional, because normally when I'm in Phuket and I shoot all the different fighters, I ask them when their training session is, and then they say 4 or 5 or whatever the time is they say. And then normally it takes an hour for them to train, and then I come shortly before the training session ends. So I did the same thing with her, and I asked her, like, when do you train? And she said, 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought, oh, that was early, but I don't need to be there before 8. But it turns out she didn't understand that I was looking for her training session. She was there at 7, and she waited for an hour for me to show up. And when I did set up my light, she was still so professional, smiling and enjoying the photo shoot. It was nothing less than spectacular. Way more professional than most of the guys, I have to say.
Let me tell you what, like, Jingnan has one of the most attractive personalities of any person I've ever been around. Like, she's got such a good heart. Like, I really just enjoy working with her as a person. And I don't really say that often, but she's just such a great person. Like, I actually enjoy being around her. Like, she's so happy to train and do everything, and whatever I ask, she does. She works really, really hard, sometimes too hard. And,
yeah, she was really, really going for it. When I was there, I went to Phuket Top Team to explain shortly for the audience for Xiang, for Vitali, and who else was there? Was there somebody else?
Just her and Vitali.
Yeah, and so I watched the training session, and she was going for it, and she was training with the guys, and that was just spectacular. She's very explosive, very powerful, and what really surprised me, by the way, was that her opponent, Tiffany Teo from Singapore, was training only a few hundred meters away from Phuket Top Team at Tiger Muay Thai, same road.
They were bumping to each other at 7-Eleven like daily.
That is so weird, man. What do you think about that? I think that is the weirdest thing ever.
It's really weird, but it's actually really common. Like we often have our opponents training down the street, and it's interesting because, like, you know, I don't hang out with the coaches from over there, but we're friendly. You know what I mean? We'll converse when we see each other, and you know, it's pretty amicable. I have a lot of respect for George and Alex and those guys. They're all Chris Vamos. They're all really super cool guys. So
at the end of the day, it's business.
Yeah, it's business. We're gonna, you know, the fighters are gonna get in there and do their job, and you know, like there's no one's really like a jerk about it. Like everybody's really cool. You know, there was, you know, there's not really that much of a rivalry as some people think there is. Like everybody's competitive. Like of course, when it's our gym versus theirs, we want to win. You know, but there's no like street rivalry or anything like that.
That would have been my next question. Do you have some internal rules, like, because obviously Asian fighters, they are not as trash talky, as cocky as the Western people. It's more about respect here in Asia. But for the Western people who are a little bit more about trash talk, do you have some golden rules, like you have to pay 10,000 baht fines if you punch a opponent from another gym in the face in Patong Beach after a couple of beers, or what's going on?
I mean that kind of behavior is just not tolerated, you know. So
yeah, I like that.
Like, guys aren't getting in street fights from the gym, and if they are, they probably won't be training with us very long. So it just won't be tolerated at all.
Yeah, that is always very not surprising, but very impressive to see so many fighters, because obviously I don't know how to, for better lack of words, how to load yourself up. You build all the power and all the energy towards your fight. So I always thought there would be moments where you can just get irritated and you need to let it out, and then you can't. You just have to behave like a normal person, even though you know the other person is a fighter. And it's just stay normal for a fighter seems for me very, very interesting to stay that calm, as you said about yourself before.
Yeah, well, you know, you have a job to do, and you don't get paid for fighting in the street. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I really don't want to hit anybody for free. You know,
that's such a cool saying.
Yeah. So, and most people don't. Like, you get paid to hit people. Don't do what you get paid for free. And really, that's it. You know, you're not getting paid. You fight for money. There's no bonus points for fighting in the street. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, let's go back to Xiong here, training with her, because obviously from China, and she speaks English, but I can imagine it was a little bit difficult to communicate there sometimes. How do you communicate with people who train from different countries, or is fighting something that you don't really need to talk? You can just show them.
Sometimes, well, with her, she had a translator here the whole time, so that was sort of mitigated any problems. If there's no translator, then it's sign language and body language. That's it. You know?
Yeah, that I can imagine that looks funny sometimes when you don't actually know what's going on, and you just see what kind of positions they try to show you, and so on and so on.
Yeah. It's sometimes you catch yourself like trying to speak in English and like their accent, and it probably sounds so retarded, but it's
no, I think it makes sense. But I have to ask you, when I was there, the whole class was full, and then you have to speak with your hands and your feet, and English here, and some Italian over there, and a packed class, super full at Phuket Top Team. And then, at the other hand, you have somebody like Dominic Cruz, who kind of undercover trains, because I was actually trying to catch him for a photo, but then I thought like, no, he wants to have a little bit of holiday as well. But I sneaked by from time to time to see if I can catch you guys. But you were so much in stealth mode. When did you train, and how do you deal with such high profile fighters?
Well, with Dom, we had to keep his workouts sort of private, not really because he was trying to be too stealthy, although a little bit, but because his hand's still not fully healed, or his arm rather. So he's still nursing, still healing the bone in his arm that he had to pull out of his last fight. So he was really was just here kind of focusing on his kicks and whatnot, and some just some tricky stuff from the Thai style that he could bring home. And so I had him working with some of the crews that I thought would kind of suit him best. Hitting pads. And yeah, he really just, Dom, he's so busy with Fox and stuff. He doesn't really get to leave the country too often. So he's able to, just for him to be able to steal a week and get out, I think he really enjoyed it. I know he did. I know he had a good time. And so we were a little bit kind of like just setting up his workouts at weird times, like whatever suited, and so he could go, have fun the rest of the day.
Yeah, I have to say I fan geeked out a little bit. Normally, I'm not a person. I've been taking photos of very famous athletes, Sebastian Vettel, musicians, Jamie Cullum. So what I'm trying to say is, I know not to geek out when you're around somebody who's a VIP, but with Dominic Cruz, man, he's just one of those fighters he's probably my favorite fighter just because of his footwork. It reminds me so much of what I used to do back in the days of b-boying, of his whole talk. I just really enjoy watching him fighting and analyzing fights. So when I passed him for the first time and he was sitting there eating breakfast, I just looked to the left real quick, saw his face, and kept on walking. And then my brain was like, wait a second, was that Dominic Cruz? And then immediately I had like 3, 5, 10 different scenarios, photos in my head that I would like to take at Phuket Top Team, because I don't think in selfie photos, I think in actual photos. So yeah, but you guys were just so stealth mode, it was impossible, and I didn't bring the time to actually stay long enough too. But what's his name? What's his face? Garbrandt was in Phuket as well, not long before him actually. Did they meet each other, or how did that work out? Because I know Garbrandt was at AK.
Cody actually left just prior, maybe 2 weeks before Dominic got back, and I actually met Cody while I was here, and he was a gentleman. He came up, said hello, and he was super respectful and friendly, and him and Dom have whatever. I don't think like each other too much, but that's whatever. That's him and Dom's business.
Yeah, I heard Cody is actually quite a nice guy, despite
gentleman. Absolute gentleman. Yeah. Just really nice guy.
And so small. Dominic Cruz is so small. The people look way much bigger on TV. It's so crazy, and you would never think that
Dominic's huge for a bantamweight. He's quite big for a bantamweight, but yeah, he's not a big guy.
I'm talking in relation to myself. Like, I'm a tall person. I'm 192 centimeter. And it's I would never think that people like that could fuck me up on the road, but I'm probably one of the weakest persons on the road. It keeps me humble. I recently made a post on Facebook where I said head versus reality. When you work with fighters, in your head you go like, come on, shut up, get your shit together, let's get the photos done, don't be a pussy. And then reality is like, yeah, sure, take their time whenever you feel for it. You have to be very careful around fighters. You don't want to stress them out. That is for sure. But how is it to train a class that is packed compared to something that is so special, that is so quiet? Because again, different times, private mode. What do you enjoy more?
I prefer. My ideal training session as a coach is a small group of high-level pros, right? That's my ideal. Now, on a given Monday morning, I might have 50 people in a wrestling class, which can still be enjoyable because the energy is pretty high, and you can kind of feed off that a little bit. And it's a task. I have to have different people doing different things. I'll have world-class fighters in the same room with people that are just taking a class for their first time. So obviously I don't have them all doing the same thing. I have some of my guys as assistants that will help me with the beginners and get them doing things that beginners should be working on. And then I tend to work with, the pros and the higher level grappling athletes that come to work on their stuff, separately. And I have to make the class useful
Yeah.
to whoever's in the room. And oftentimes that means splitting the class up into 2 or 3 groups.
Yeah. How do you deal with when you work with pro fighters? Obviously, you don't only train them in the gym, but you always have to go with them to their fights as well. How do you combine training, private life, and traveling so much? How do you get everything under one hat, as we say in Germany?
There's no separation, unfortunately. It's just yeah, and it's like, man, there's nothing. I think sometimes people are like so proud that they're busy all the time, and I'm like, I wish I was able to sort of streamline my life a little bit, and sometimes I feel like I'm in a bit of a rush all the time. It's not something I particularly enjoy, feeling like I'm in a rush, and some of that might just be the way I'm, wired. Yeah, for me, it's all one thing. Like what I've noticed now is I don't do well with being on the road long, especially if I have to share a hotel room.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll try to send an assistant coach for like the bulk of the week.
Yeah.
So let's say if they fly out on a Tuesday, I'll try to get there the day of weigh-ins and then the day of fight day. I'm just much better. I stay in a much better mood the longer I can stay in my schedule, because I'm pretty regimented as far as my day is concerned. When I eat, when I train, when I teach, all that stuff. Because I still train twice a day. And my own training's still really important to me as a martial artist. So
you guys are crazy.
Yeah. So once I get taken out of that, I get a little moody, and I get anxious when I don't train. So it keeps me even keeled. If I can get there for 2 days and then leave the day after the fight, that's ideal. On occasion, I have some more higher profile fights. I have to go the whole week, and I just got to suck it up and get the job done.
Obviously. How did you guys spend, by the way, the night in Jakarta? Did you do anything special after the title win, or just quiet and then back?
No, we went back to the hotel, ordered a bunch of food, went upstairs, fell asleep, and that was about it, man. There was nothing to do.
Yeah, true too. That hotel, except for the pepper beef, the green pepper beef. Once again, that is how we celebrate in that hotel. I need to ask you, Eric, because it's my duty as somebody who tries to share information with other people. Can you give me an update on Vitaly Bigdash? What's going on? He had to pull out of his last fight, and obviously there's still some unfinished business with Aung La. How is his situation? Because he trains at Phuket Top Team, and he's a beast. What's happening?
Yeah. Just getting his, the infection he had in his leg under control. And then, he should be back in action. So he's back in Russia right now.
Yeah.
And that's it. We're going to get him healthy first of all, and get him back in the gym. And then, I haven't heard any updates on when he's going to fight next. So, hopefully that will be soon.
A spectacular fighter. For the people who don't know, one championship, one of the most spectacular fights ever. Vitaly Bigdash versus Igor Svirit, my favorite one championship fight. And Vitaly is just such a beast. I mean, when you stand in front of him, he's such a big dude and so athletic and very scary.
Yeah, he's a monster. If he was born in America, he'd be playing in the NFL.
Yeah,
he's a bad man. He's a
little bit sneaky.
Athletic.
He's a little bit sneaky when it comes to photos, because sometimes he fucks around with me and tells me he's in the gym at 8, and then I show up at 8, and then he's not in the gym before 10. But that's his way of saying I don't like media, I guess. But I didn't actually know until recently that he's a dad. I didn't know that. That must be quite tough to be from Russia and then travel all the way from Russia to Thailand and fight in Asia, and you're so far away from your family, and this kid is still quite young. So I can
a lot of guys do it. A lot of guys do it. Half the gym is from Russian-speaking countries. So it's pretty common now for a lot of guys to do their camps in Phuket at one of the 3 gyms. Like it's it seems to be the standard now.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have to be some athletes psychologists sometimes because they have to stay away from their family? Because believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, dudes and dudettes, fighters, they look tough, but they all have emotions, and some of them even listen to pop music. But yeah, do you have to be coach and psychologist at the same time sometimes?
Yeah, well, definitely. That's, I mean, half the job of a good coach is the psychological preparation. I find a lot of the Russian-speaking fighters a little bit difficult to do that with. They're not.
Yeah, they like the French.
They're not as willing to embrace vulnerability and talk about it and admit that they're scared or have concerns as some of the more Western fighters.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Russian fighters often stay in their own little group, and not many of them speak very well English. So it's
even if they do, like even if I'm translating and whatnot, it's they're just not. Vulnerability is not a hot topic with a lot of Russian-speaking men. There's a few exceptions, but it's from what I've noticed, it's just some of them just come from hard places, and it's just not the thing that they do.
Yeah, they can't afford to do that. I can imagine too.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys come from some pretty harsh environments, but man, I know dudes that come from the ghetto, and they're a little bit more willing to open up about that stuff. So I think it's cultural.
Yeah, it's when I see certain fighters sometimes, let it be in the UFC or let it be in one championship or any other promotions, some fighters you really see they embrace of being a fighter. I always look angry and I have to be the toughest guy in the room. And then you have other people sometimes that look like nerds and they fuck you up in the cage. I think that is even worse when you can't tell. I think when you can tell and you can see somebody looks angry and looks like a problem, it's actually not too much benefiting because you are prepared. But when you see somebody who doesn't look like it, and you kind of trick them into a fight, and then out of the sudden you get choked out.
Yeah.
You never know.
I think the look of anger is really a sign of weakness.
You think so? You make me feel really bad because you know what I hear often? I often hear from friends and family and people and clients, they ask me, why do I always look angry? But I'm not an angry person. I just look that way.
That's different. That's just being stoic. When guys are in a fight, I get told the same thing. Like, I have like resting serial killer face, but it's like, it's just lack of emotion in my face. But that's actually a good thing. Lack of emotion in your face in a fight is a good sign. It's okay to get excited and hyped up, but I think when guys try to force anger into a fight, to me, that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, because they don't really have a motivation, and if you're not motivated,
well, they're getting emotional, and they're letting their emotions get the best of them. And anger is not a great emotion to use as fuel in a prize fight. At least that's my experience. It kind of clouds your judgment, makes you get tight. To perform at your best, you need to be loose and in the moment. You can't be angry and in the moment, or mustering up some fake aggression and being in the moment. I don't see how that's possible.
You have to control your mind really with fighting. And as much as I enjoy and hate trash talk at the same time, for me it's fascinating to see the psychology behind all the pre-fight talk and trash talk. And once again, Dominic Cruz, awesome. I like his trash talk. Conor McGregor, obviously the most famous example, and Mayweather. But some people just try to push it.
When they get in the cage, they're pretty cool.
They're done, yeah, for sure. Right. By done, I mean they're super calm.
They're selling the fight. I'm talking about in the fight. Selling the fight is selling the fight. I mean, you have to sell fights for the casual fan. Real fighters just want to see fights,
Yeah.
The casual fan is where you make your money. Unfortunately, there's not enough hardcore fight fans out there. You got to sell the fight. However, you got to sell the fight. But you see, Conor, when he gets in there, he's done with the shtick by the time weigh-ins come, and then once he's in the fight, he's in the fight, and he's not really talking shit no more. He's in there, he's in the fight, he's cool, calm, collected, he's in the moment. Same for Dominic. Like, Dominic's got a very dry way of talking shit, and it gets under people's skin. But the time he's in the fight, he's generally just in the fight. You don't see him looking angry or trying to be a tough guy in the fight. He's just fighting.
Do you know anything about Dominic's next fight? Like how because he had to cancel his last fight because of the injury.
No, nothing right now. Actually, no updates on that right now.
And another fighter that I have to ask you about, because she is one of my favorite fighters as well, had a tremendous, great fight against Holly Holmes. Obviously, I'm talking about Chris Cyborg. She is fighting at the UFC 222, and she is a big Phuket Top Team visitor. Is she going to come back to visit Phuket?
I'm sure she will. I don't really keep up to date on her stuff too much. Boyd is usually more in charge of what she does when she's here. But yeah, she's usually here pretty often, so I can imagine she'll venture out.
Do you still get excited for any fighters that show up? I mean, there's some pretty big names walking around at Phuket Top Team.
Not really. Not really.
That seems so crazy for me. I would be excited. Like, oh shit, we have Chris Cyborg in the house. Shit, we have Dominic Cruz in the house.
My first real fight gym was Extreme Couture. I spent about 2.5, 3 years there. When I walked into that room, my first day was like Frank Trigg, Forrest Griffin, Vitor Belfort. You know what I mean? Like it was like the who's who at the time. Randy was still fighting. You know, the only person to this day I would still get like, and he's, I know him fairly well, but like that's the only guy I ever got like dumb quiet around. Like when Randy walked, still like he's still my hero. Like that, I'm not big into heroes and idolizing other men, but Randy's a guy that I always looked up to. And
but is there still somebody out there that you don't have to mention any names, but somebody that you say, okay, if this person comes here and trains, I'm gonna freak the fuck out?
Nope. I get more geeked out when like good jiu-jitsu guys or like a good international wrestler comes through. Then I get like more excited. Yeah. Fighters, I don't really get that excited over.
And obviously, when I pass by Phuket Top Team, you get excited too, because
I get ecstatic.
Steve-O is in the house. That's There is no more reason to get more excited than Steve-O. I'm just joking. I have to ask you here. We're getting slow toward the end. We have been recording for a little bit over an hour, but something that I always like to do with people who return to the podcast. And by the way, I hope the next appearance of you here on the podcast doesn't take you almost a year to come back. Hopefully, you get a little catch up sooner than that. But last time you were about to do a Muay Thai fight, and I'm using a photo as my thumbnail. I don't know who took that photo. I would like to give some photo credits to whoever that is.
That's my photo guy, Timur. He does a lot of the media work for Top Team now. He's super talented, this kid. He catches some amazing shots. He actually made me a poster of that's hanging in the gym now. The picture that you used is one of my favorite pictures that from my whole fight career. So it was,
100% agree. I love that picture. There's so much emotion in there. There's obviously you were exhausted, you're in the middle of the fight, but then this moment of quietness where you actually listen to your coach, and then the rope is half in your face. And I love that picture. Shout out to him for that picture. Please send me the information so I can put it below in the description. More fight photographers, by the way, and that is something I would like to say on personal note. We need more fight photographers out there. And on Monday next week, I'm actually going to do a little podcast talking about what it takes to become a photographer and how you actually manage to work and travel at the same time, because I have a crazy schedule coming up. I'm heading to Myanmar for Lethway. I'm heading to Vietnam for Martin Negin, then to Bali MMA, then to Tokyo for the Japanese MMA fighters, and all that obviously needs to be organized. So if you're into photography, fight photography, tune in and let me know how you get everything organized. Maybe I should get this dude on the podcast and talk with him, because it's not.
He's an interesting guy, man. He's an interesting guy. He's he's had a couple of Muay Thai fights too, and he's working towards.
So he fights himself, okay.
Yeah, he trains all the time. He's a great guy, really, really interesting individual for sure.
I think too often people like you and me and other people who live in paradise, we take our life a little bit for granted sometimes, and see, okay, for us it's average day. You know what I mean? We do this every day. But for me, I do that. I don't really do that. It kind of comes into my brain once a week, once every second week, where I really realize, wait a second, just because it's normal for me or I think like that, it's completely difficult for some other people. So I think I want to catch up a little bit more on the average day things that are kind of special to other people, and then just exchange. It's all about exchanging and learning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have to remind myself once a day, like, you know, that most people would be pretty thrilled to have my life circumstances.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, so I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. And I try to remind myself of that as often as I can.
But I get off a little bit off track here. I like to do that with people who come on the podcast not only once, but several times. Last time we had you on the podcast, you said you're going to fight a Muay Thai fight. Then that happened. And how is your fight career going? That is my main question here.
Okay. So I'm retired from MMA. I've been retired from MMA for about a year and a half. And that's when I resumed the head coach job at Top Team. But
I have to stop you right here. I'm sorry. I have to stop you right here. But something I hate is, I hate war. Hate is a strong word. But it annoys me a little bit. Many MMA photographers say they are retired and then they come back. Are you really retired, or is there something that could bring you back?
I'll never fight MMA again. I'll fight Muay Thai because I enjoy fighting. I like hitting people. I do. I enjoy violence. Like there's something I really enjoy about it, and I don't like to be violent to people that can't fight. But but you know, sanctioned violence I enjoy, and but the cost of putting yourself through an MMA fight emotionally and physically, I don't have that in me anymore, and I don't really have anything to prove anymore. Like I feel satisfied with myself as a martial artist, and you know, I'll still compete in BJJ and grappling events and Muay Thai fights, and you know, to keep myself sharp, and I'll do that as long as my body will let me. But as far as MMA is concerned, like no, I would never. You know, I've been offered fights, and I just kindly turn them down. That's not what I'm into these days, and you can't coach and fight and do both of them well. So one of them is going to suffer. You're either going to coach like shit and fight well, or you're going to fight like shit and coach well.
Yeah, so that seems to be a tough thing to focus on both things. But it's turning 37 tomorrow, man. You know, as older you get, as more you look back on your life. You're not afraid that when you're 50, 60 and say, I wish I could have fought that fight back in the days.
You know, there's always stuff like that. I wish this, I wish that. It didn't happen. So, you know, whatever happened, and whatever didn't happen, like it's not going to happen now. So, you know, I try to stay focused on what's in front of me.
Yeah. So do you have a Muay Thai fight line up or?
Nothing right now. Nothing. I'm pretty much mostly focusing on grappling right now. And I'm hopefully going to get to compete sometime in the near future when something links up with my schedule. I'm going to be, I have to go to the UK for 10 days in March. So I have the Terry Brazier's fighting for the BAMMA world title, and Peter Sabota is going to be fighting in UFC London. So I'll be
that's in March, right? March, yeah.
Yeah, March. So I'll be in the UK for about 10 days doing seminars and cornering fights, and so I won't be able to probably compete till after that.
Okay. So, are you looking forward to England, or are you
well, it's London area, so yeah, I'll give it a
expensive.
Chance. Yeah, it is, but I'm staying at my fighter's house for his fight, and then hopefully something decent for the UFC in London, and then we get a per diem, and you know, obviously I get paid for that, so it's you know, it'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that. I'll make sure that I get my training in so that I can be a stable human being, and just enjoy the ride. Hopefully we get good results and keep building.
I have no doubts in my mind. Seeing your recent weeks with the World Championship title and everything that is happening in your gym, obviously a gym full of beasts and potential champions. Eric, what else can I say? Thank you so much for making the time. I know you're a busy man, and thank you so much for letting us look into the life of a coach a little bit more. Because normally I have when it comes to sport athletes on, it's always nice to talk to coach and see their inside view. Where can we follow you on social media? You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Instagram. What can we do to follow you?
I'm not super active on Twitter. The best place to get most of my social media is my Instagram. Eric the Gentleman. Eric the Gentleman is my Instagram. And then anybody interested in my I have an online course that I just put out, takedownsformma.com. It's all 22 video breakdown on how to mix striking into takedowns for MMA. So that I just put out. So anybody that wants to check that out, they can go over to that website, takedownsformma.com.
Boom. And if Eric remembers to send me the link as soon as we hang up, I will put that link below in the description as well as we always do. So in case you want to follow him or take a look at the course, or maybe even go and check out Phuket Top Team, take a look on the live stream here below in the links and you will find everything there. Eric, normally it's bad luck where I come from, but I do it anyway because I don't really have a choice. But happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
And I hope you don't get too drunk, but we already know. We already know you're going to be in the gym all day. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I hope to talk to you soon again and enjoy your future floats.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, Eric. So nice to actually talk to him, because as I mentioned, I've seen him so many times over the last couple of weeks, but it's very hard to find the time to actually talk, to have a proper conversation. And that is something I forget to ask Eric about, because that is another, I always do some research on my guests, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But I saw that Eric posted something regarding of having a conversation. Don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember that it was about having a conversation. So forget that. However, I really enjoyed to have a short chat and conversation. Well, not really short. It was an hour. So yeah, it's nice to catch up with people. I really enjoy that. And don't get me wrong. I love all my guests. I like them all. I like to talk to them all. But podcasting is very nice because I mean, I'm sitting here in my office, he's sitting in Phuket, and we have a conversation. You don't need to be at the same place anymore. So it's nice. You can have a conversation with anybody at any time. Well, maybe not any time, because I recently made the mistake of calling up a friend in the early morning, but it turns out there are time zones, biatch. So he was sleeping, cursed at me for 10 minutes, then hanged up, and yeah. We haven't spoken since. But yeah, this is funny shit. I should do that more, because the person I'm talking about, I love to grind his gear. So maybe it becomes a regular thing. Yeah. However, regular thing should also be our podcast in your ear. And yes, there was a transition like from the books. Subscribe, follow me and follow the podcast if you want to listen to all our previous episodes from the Surrounded by Details podcast. Then do yourself a favor and check us up on iTunes, Podbean, Overcast. We are not on SoundCloud anymore. Well, we are still there, but I have to reorganize a little bit. So iTunes, Podbean, Overcast, and all the other podcast platforms that are around. Just look for the Surrounded by Details podcast. And if you want to download all our episodes for free, which you obviously want to, then you can also do so not only on iTunes and Podbean and Overcast and all the other platforms. You can also do so on my website, www.stevebonhage.com, stevebonhage.com. All episodes for free download, audio only, but it is for free, so shut the fuck up, it is for free. And yes, I start to sing. That means one thing and one thing only. It is time to wrap this bitch up slowly. Follow me also on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, steve.bonhage, steve.bonhage, and you can see some of the finest photography around here in Asia, maybe even in the whole wide world, and maybe even the universe, but only you can judge me, because taste is different from person to person. So I hope you can enjoy my work, not only the podcast but also the photography. We are actually on a good course, because on my last episode I said I do that too often, and it's a mistake that I always announce previous episodes. I should not do that anymore, because things always change, but I can't shut up. And since we seem to have a run right now, I keep on going with that. Eric Uresk made it at the arranged date. Next Monday, as I mentioned in the podcast earlier, I'm going to do an episode about what it takes to work and travel as a freelance photographer, and how you make it work. Two different things, sound very similar, but very different actually. How to make something work and what it takes to make something work. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then tune in on Monday. I promise it will make sense at the end of the day, 8 o'clock p.m. biggity Bangkok time. as always lately. And then on Wednesday, let me double check here just to confirm it is Wednesday. No, Tuesday, we gonna have a morning podcast, 11 a.m. That should be 10 a.m. Bangkok and 11 a.m. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where our guest for that particular date, February 13th, is located. And I'm talking about nobody less than the always friendly and beautiful Ann Osman, who recently retired from her active pro fighting career and is now working for One Championship and has her gym and so many other things going on. So I thought, hey, Ann, would it be possible to actually get the complete Ann Osman story? We had her on the podcast a couple of times before, 10-15 minutes conversations, sometimes about her fight and about her average day life. But I wonder, how is it to be Ann Osman? What does it take? What does it take to make it work? Here we are, talking about work, how making things work again. So Ann Osman, February 13th, and we have a bunch of other guests coming up. We are announcing more dates soon, and I'm not talking one by one. I'm actually talking about a big package of guests and names that I've been gathering over the last few weeks. So stay tuned, subscribe, share, comment. Let us know what you liked in the episode. Let us know what you don't like. That is our only way of improving what we do, and we hope you enjoyed it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Surrounded by Details podcast. My name is Steve. And you are a beautiful human being. So stay positive and don't forget to smile. See ya!